Hey everybody, it's Mrs. Proby here. We are going to do a bit of a writing lesson today and a bit of a social lesson too, so you actually need your social book. Today we're going to talk about urban and rural. I'm not sure if you've ever heard those words before. They're a little tricky to say. Urban and rural. And we're going to start off that lesson today with a story called Town Mouse, Country Mouse. So town mouse actually lives in an urban place because urban is a city type of a place, and country mouse lives in a rural place because country and rural kind of mean the same thing. So you can start thinking about what is urban, what is rural. Anyways, we'll enjoy this book first. And Jan Brett is such an awesome author, and I always love the illustrations that she puts in. And in this book, she has lots of details, so I hope that you can kind of see. I'll try to show the picture to you. One morning, the town mouse woke up shivering from a dream about the kitchen cat who prowled the house. "I need a vacation," he said to his wife. "Let me take you to the countryside where I was born. Life is quiet and peaceful there. The sun shines brightly every day, and the air is so clear that you can see the stars at night, and nothing will prepare you for the taste of wild blackberries." "Let's go right away," she said. And so the town mouse and his wife packed a picnic and set off for the country. There he is, he's talking to her. Let's go to the country. Well, the country mouse and her husband were at their tree stump house, exhausted from searching for food and avoiding the hungry owl who lived nearby. "Oh, sometimes I wished that we lived in a townhouse where all the food you can eat is right there in the pantry. They say that the smell of cheese makes your whiskers tingle." Mine are tingling already," her husband exclaimed. So they live out in the country and they're like, "Hey, let's go to town." So the town mice were outside the country mice's house, putting a large chunk of cheese in the middle of their picnic cloth. The country mice peered down at it, and they heard the town mouse exclaim, "Oh, this is the life, the wildflowers, spring peepers, if we only lived here." And the country mice crept out, and they said, "You like it here?" they asked. "Why, we've always wanted to live in a townhouse." And the town mouse offered a nibble of cheese. "Why don't we trade houses?" he said. "Would you?" the country mouse asked, her mouth stuffed full of the delicious cheese. "We'll leave right away," she said. As they said goodbye, each of the mice thought that they had the better part of the bargain. Now, you could see this and they're talking, but have you noticed this guy? This guy right there. And now he's watching them. What do you think an owl might want to do with a mouse? It was dark when the country mice arrived in town and found the house. They tiptoed inside and wandered into the sewing room, where they found what they thought was a sumptuous bed, and they fell sound asleep. Much too early the next morning, a loud clanging woke them up. Sooty clouds of smoke were pouring over them, and they heard a strange voice purring loudly. "Sauces and ham, it's hungry I am. Sauces and ham, it's hungry I am. Mice in my stew, wait till I catch you." "Who do you think that is?" the country mouse asked his wife. Who do you guys think it is? Is there a hint right there? What do you think a cat might do to a mouse? Well, the town mouse and his wife were up with the birds, ready to gather wild blackberries in the grassy meadow for breakfast. They could smell them. They just couldn't find them. As the town mouse's wife turned to remind her husband to remember the way home, she felt a large wet drop on her head. "What was that?" she asked. "Is the bathtub leaking?" "No, we're in the country now," he said. "Those are raindrops." Just then, lightning lit up the sky and rain poured down as the two drenched mice ran wildly for their tree stump home. You can see the owl again. Uh-oh. Poor mice, they're not used to this. Well, the country mice were looking forward to their first splendid meal in the pantry. "Oh, I'm sure there is ham in the ice chest and rolls in the bread box. But the best smell of all is coming from up there," the country mouse told her husband. "It must be a fine old cheese. I will climb on your shoulders and get it." But she couldn't reach it. "Stand on your toes," she called down. But just as she got a hold of the cheese, her husband lost his balance. The top slammed down, and she was left hanging by her tail. Do you see her hanging by her tail? Help me, I'm caught." And someone was sleeping, but now is wide awake. Back in the country, the town mouse had put on dry clothes. He was especially proud of his bright new jacket. "Ooh, so colorful and eye-catching," he said to his wife. "Let's stroll in the forest. We'll come back loaded with acorns and hickory nuts." But their walk was soon interrupted. The town mouse's colorful coat was so eye-catching that it caught the eye of a curious blackbird. And if his wife hadn't held him by his foot, he would have been carried off. My goodness. And the owl's still around too. Not far away, the country mouse felt his wife's silky tail. "Oh, nothing broken," he said. But when he looked in her eyes, he could see how sad and discouraged she was. "I know something that will cheer us up," he told her. "Follow me." He had spied a small window up above the pantry shelves, and together they climbed higher and higher, and when they reached the top, he rubbed away the soot, and they looked out at a piece of blue sky. "Doesn't it look like home?" the country mouse asked his wife. Oh, do you think they might be missing home? Look at the cat standing on his back legs, trying to reach up. Thank goodness he fell. The town mice stood quietly together. After their awful blackbird scare, "Oh, I thought I had lost you forever," the town mouse whispered to her husband. They looked around. How still and peaceful it was now. The sun had come out and everything was glistening and green. "It is beautiful here," she said. "We should try to enjoy it." "I know," the town mouse said, "but I miss the sound of the town, all the hustle and bustle. Here I feel so alone. And in our cozy townhouse, we knew what to expect." Guys, do you think that they're seeing what's behind them? A fox, it looks like to me. And the owl is still around too. And now the fox and the owl. Oh boy. The country mice knew to stay at home in a thunderstorm, and they knew what to expect from the hungry owl. But they soon found out that there were very different dangers here when they discovered a tasty morsel of blue cheese sitting on a pine board. "This time you take the cheese. I'm still shaking from being caught in the cheese box," the country mouse said. So her husband crept toward the cheese, whiskers trembling. As he reached it, his foot slipped, and he heard a whoosh, followed by an enormous snap, and he was thrown across the room. He landed in a warm bundle of something soft and furry. Oh man, what do you think that he landed in? And also, what almost caught him? Mouse trap, they're not used to that. The country mouse was shaking from his close call. "Oh, I can barely stand." He winced as his wife pulled him up and patted down his crumpled whiskers. It was then that she noticed the bundle on which her husband had landed was tipping and turning. It was alive. Two green eyes snapped open. "Run!" she cried, getting a good look at it. "It's an owl with teeth!" Or otherwise known as a cat. The town mice knew how to avoid mousetraps set with cheese, but they soon found that the country has its own perils when they explored the riverbank, hand in hand. Suddenly the water began to boil and churn, and a huge wet head popped up and stared at them. It was a river otter. The mice tore back to their tree stump home, only to find a hedgehog rolled into a ball in front of the door. And then they heard an animal crashing toward them through the underbrush. "I can't take this anymore," the town mouse quaked, and she raced for the nearest tree with her husband right behind her. Is that a badger? They're not used to all these different animals. From the tree, they could see the town lights blink on as the sun went down and the stars came out one by one. "What shall we do?" the town mouse asked his wife. But before she could answer, she saw a pair of glowering eyes right beside them, and they were face to face with the most terrifying creature of all. "A cat with wings!" shrieked the town mouse. "That is it for me," his wife cried, and they ran down the tree and toward the town as fast as their legs could take them. Oh my, that would be so scary if you were a teeny little mouse. As the town mice headed frantically along the road, the country mice were fleeing in terror toward the country. Their paths crossed, but neither one even saw the other. They were so frightened. Even the sky seemed to be falling down on them. The country mice didn't stop running until they could see their tree stump in the distance. There they go, they're headed home. The owl and the cat meet each other. There go the town mice, they're headed back to town. The town mice kept on running until they reached their own townhouse. The musty smell of old wood and smoke from the kitchen all seemed wonderful. Even the street sounds outside sounded cheerful and friendly. "Oh, there's no place like home," sighed the town mouse as he and his wife settled into a warm old slipper. "There is no place like home." Atop their cozy tree stump house, the country mouse and her husband looked up at a full moon shining down on them. They sighed happily. "We missed you," they said together. Back on the road, the cat and the owl had knocked each other out when they collided head-on. The cat, slowly waking up, touched his bruised head gingerly. He looked up to see the owl brushing himself off. It was then that he had an idea. "Hey, owl, how would you like to trade places with me? I've always wanted to try the simple life in the country." How do you think that will go? That's the end of Town Mouse, Country Mouse. I like this story because it actually makes me think about, I live in a city, which is an urban area, and I'm thankful for that, but I also often wish that I lived in the country, a rural area. But maybe if I did, I would be missing a whole bunch of things from the city, an urban area. Makes you think about where you live and to enjoy the things that we do have. And also grade ones, I hope that it has made you think about urban and rural. And I want to show you a little poster. I hope you can kind of see here. I've tried to set it up for you. I just want to ask you, where would you see these things? This picture right here looks like the Calgary Tower to me, and a whole bunch of skyscrapers. Do you think that you're going to find that in an urban area or in a rural area? Remember, urban is city and rural is country. How about this? This is a man, he's milking a cow. Do you think that would be urban, or do you think that would be rural? Again, urban is city, rural is country. How about this guy? He's going onto a bus. Will that be in an urban place or a rural place? Where would buses be? Where would you see houses very close to each other and streets that are paved? Urban or rural? How about these kids right here? They have baseball bats. Looks like they're playing some baseball together. Would they be urban or rural, or would they maybe be both? I want you to think about those things, and I really want you today to learn what urban means, what rural means, and then also something called suburban. And so I'm going to have a PowerPoint for you to play with and look at. And then I also want you to work in your social book today and write down some urban ideas and some rural ideas. So I will sign off for now. I hope you enjoyed the story of Town Mouse, Country Mouse by Jan Brett, and I hope that you're starting to learn some things about urban and rural. Have a great day.